two key British institutions, one hereditary, one elected, both crumbling with little dignity.
More than 10 parties are reported to have taken place here at Downing Street and in other government departments during the depths of the nation's lockdown.
Today, a judge ruled that a sexual assault case against Prince Andrew can go to trial.
The Prince and the PM both under fire. For Boris Johnson, photos of him at a boozy Downing Street party at the height of lockdown have triggered calls to resign.
It's not okay for there to be one set of rules for them and another set of rules for the rest of us.
Mr. Speaker, I want to apologise. I know that millions of people across this country have made extraordinary sacrifices over the last 18 months, and I know the rage they feel with me.
Johnson's apology was for the appearance of wrongdoing, not wrongdoing itself.
I believed implicitly that this was a work event.
But with leaked emails appearing to prove the event was a social one, Boris's excuse wasn't cutting it.
His defence that he didn't realise he was at a party is so ridiculous that it's actually offensive to the British public.
Now it's another party causing Boris strife, as many in his own are now calling for him to resign.
I don't think he can continue as leader of the Conservatives.
But Boris isn't the only one being called out for a flimsy defence. In New York, a judge has ruled against Prince Andrew's moves to throw out Virginia Giuffre's civil sexual assault case against him.
He is now not going to be able to avoid answering questions under oath. He's going to have to step up now and answer.
The trial is now likely to go ahead later this year, unless a settlement can be worked out.
The practical realities of this position have stuck a noose around Prince Andrew's neck. He's got to settle, he's got to get out, or he's a dead man walking.
Well, journalist Latika Burke joins us now from London. Latika, there are reports that Virginia Giuffre does not want to settle, that she's holding out for that day in court. How bad is this trial going to be for Prince Andrew?
Well, it's a catastrophe for Prince Andrew and the wider royal family. There's absolutely no other way to see it. Prince Andrew has fought so hard to avoid exactly this outcome. So now he faces a year of this legal process dragging on. He could try and settle, but there's no indication that Virginia Giuffre will be happy with that outcome. She has always pursued justice here, and she will be intent on having what she has always alleged has happened to her at the hands of Prince Andrew acknowledged finally once and for all. So there's really no good options for Prince Andrew from here.
It's always been said that Prince Andrew is the Queen's favourite son. So is he out there on his own, or will the royal family support him through this?
Yeah, this is a really good question, because if Prince Andrew does try and settle, we would imagine that that settlement would be within millions of pounds to Virginia Giuffre. Now, who is going to pay for that? We would expect at some point that perhaps the Queen or the royal family's income will be drawn upon for that. The other question, of course, is who is going to keep funding Prince Andrew's legal fees? The legal fees alone for what lies ahead this year in 2022 for Prince Andrew could also run up to $5-6 million. That's US. So he's looking at substantial sums. Where he's going to get that income, I think all eyes will be towards the Queen for that.
Latika, let's talk about Boris Johnson. Can a bring your own bottle party possibly bring down a Prime Minister?
Oh, yes, absolutely it can, because as we saw with Barry O'Farrell in New South Wales, it's not always the bottle of booze that gets you. It's sometimes the cover-up. Now, Barry O'Farrell didn't even try, he just left. Boris Johnson has gone for the other approach. He's tried to cover this up. Originally, he first tried to say, oh, well, there was no parties. Now, I don't know of many work meetings where everyone's invited to bring your own booze, and I work in the media. So he's evaded this really badly. He's tried to cover it up. He has told fibs, and perhaps in Parliament, which should be a resignation offence. And so all eyes are now on a very, very eagerly anticipated internal inquiry that's being conducted into all these parties that were held during lockdown at Number 10 and whether or not they did breach coronavirus rules. And if they did, there's a wide expectation that Boris Johnson himself will then have to say, OK, I have to quit. And so they are starting to look at other options, but to be honest, the other options aren't that much greater. And that's about the only thing saving Boris Johnson right now.
Interesting times there in the UK. Latika, thanks for joining us.
Pleasure.
It is much harder under the rules of the Conservative Party to replace Boris Johnson than what it would be here, so they're not as prone to leadership spills. But a bit's been written about this in the UK, and I think it's true even here too. It's so often the thing that first endears a leader to the public that can at a certain point just switch, and suddenly it's the thing that is their weakest point.
Like how he's just this anti-politician, says what he likes.
Yeah, exactly. With Boris, you know, it has been the shambolic side, that he's kind of Captain Chaos and he can kind of get away with whatever and explain his way out of it. And then something just shifts. Yeah. And then suddenly that doesn't work for them.
And then suddenly you are Prime Minister and you actually have to do the job.